Welcome back. Today, we're jumping right into an explainer on one of the most fascinating character arcs in recent memory. We're talking about Tanjiro Kamado from Demon Slayer. But we aren't just looking at his powers. We're looking at exactly how he manages to get back up after every single devastating fall, and how his jaw-dropping endurance fundamentally changes the people around him. We'll see how he turns the harsh, unforgiving captains known as the Hashira from his absolute biggest threats into mentors who genuinely love and protect him. Okay, let's dive into this.
Here's our roadmap for the explainer. We're going to hit the mindset of endurance, then move to evolving through extreme agony. Check out winning over the captains, and finally, look at the ultimate unyielding legacy.
All right, Section 1, the mindset of endurance, the internal drive to keep standing.
Before we can even talk about blazing swords or incredible physical strength, we really have to establish Tanjiro's unshakable mental baseline. Because all of his physical comebacks, they start right there, in his mind. Early on, facing the terrifying blood demon art of the drum demon, Tanjiro goes into battle with broken ribs and a broken leg. He is operating at a massive physical disadvantage against a highly disorienting enemy. So how does he keep moving? He literally has to negotiate with his own body.
Despite those broken bones, he keeps prepping himself mentally. He says, "I will assure you this, without a shadow of doubt in my mind, I will not yield." And this brilliantly illustrates how his inner monologue is the engine that fuels his survival. He's actively refusing to let doubt win. I mean, have you ever had to aggressively coach yourself through a tough spot, just to get out of bed or push through a grueling task? That intense self-talk is Tanjiro's entire baseline. He decides he's going to endure before the clash even happens.
But the reality of his human limits always hits him hard. Literally a second after he defeats the drum demon, a searing pain rips right through his chest. The adrenaline wears off and he is violently forced to his knees, wincing from the deep breaths he had to take just to get an advantage. We see his intense physical vulnerability placed right next to that overwhelming mental toughness.
Falling to his knees, he mutters to himself, "It's okay, Tanjiro. You can bear this." This right here is his ultimate self-affirmation. He encourages himself to endure the pain and simply keep pushing forward. It proves that his comebacks are earned through sheer grit and suffering. You know, this isn't some unearned magical anime superpower that just suddenly heals him. Every single step forward is an active choice to suffer for a greater cause.
Section 2. Evolving through extreme agony. How pain unlocks unprecedented power.
So, how exactly does this pain actually translate to strength? Well, for Tanjiro, his massive power-ups are always a direct consequence of enduring immense punishment. It all comes down to his core combat mechanic, total concentration breathing. This technique greatly enhances his physical fitness to superhuman levels, but it exacts a massive, agonizing physical toll on his body, especially when he pushes past his limits to force his muscles to do the impossible.
Let's move to and see how this builds across his journey. He starts off by imitating water breathing. It gives him a solid foundation, but it doesn't fit his body perfectly. Then, on the absolute brink of death against the lower-ranked demon Rui, he recalls his father's Kagura dance, combining it with his breathing to unleash a far more powerful attack. This slowly builds up to him fully inheriting the original sun breathing. Every step forward demands that he break past a physical limit that nearly kills him.
Look at the sheer cliff face of adversity he climbs during the Entertainment District battle against the upper-ranked demon Gyutaro. The damage is unimaginable. Severe wounds, massive blood loss, deadly poison coursing through his veins. Gyutaro literally pierces Tanjiro's throat. Yet knowing it's do or die, Tanjiro gets back up by forcing oxygen through his poisoned veins, literally overriding his dying nervous system. He commands his broken body to strike with awe-inspiring force.
And it isn't just physical damage he endures, it's emotional agony too. When fighting Daki, the sheer scale of her reckless destruction and the slaughter of innocent civilians enraged him so deeply that his eyes literally bled. Just think about that for a second. This extreme, visceral emotion forces his body into a higher, intensely dangerous gear, pushing him to execute sun breathing with a brutal, oppressive force that absolutely terrifies the demons.
Section 3. Winning over the captains. From ruthless elites to loyal protectors.
This whole cycle of getting beaten down and forcing himself back up doesn't just win battles, it completely shifts the world around him. Now what's really interesting about this slide is the massive contrast we see with the water Hashira, Giyu. On day 1, Giyu is ruthless, fully prepared to slay Tanjiro's sister, Nezuko. But Tanjiro's desperate endurance shatters Giyu's worldview. It shifts so wildly that Gyud eventually offers to commit ritual suicide to guarantee Nezuko's innocence. It's a total 180-degree shift built on profound love and loyalty.
But honestly, Gyu is kind of an early exception. Most Hashira are defined by this incredibly harsh, unforgiving nature, driven by deep trauma. Take the Wind Hashira, Sanemi. Acting out of pure spite? Well, actually scratch that, it's more like acting out of strict protocol and a blistering hatred for demons. Sanemi ruthlessly stabbed Nezuko while she was trapped inside her box, entirely dismissing Tanjiro's pleas.
And how does Tanjiro respond? He entirely loses his composure. He completely ignores the rigid hierarchy of power and literally assaults a Hashira, headbutting Sanemi without a second thought. It's a practically suicidal move. But it proves to the Hashira that reason and fear just vanish when his family is hurt. His willingness to cross any boundary and endure any punishment forces these ruthless elites to recognize his unyielding spirit.
Finally, Section 4, the ultimate unyielding legacy, the phenomenal power multiplier of pain.
Let's quantify exactly how much this cycle of pain, endurance, and respect actually leveled him up. Tanjiro evolves from a mere survivor into a decisive victor. In his early fights, like on Spider Mountain, he's desperately struggling just to survive encounters with Lower Moon demons. But by the time he faces Han Tengu in Upper Moon 4, he isn't just surviving, he is actively holding his own and swiftly moving to behead these nearly impossible foes.
According to fan discussions and power scaling analysis, his growth multiplier is staggering. If we were to assign a base power level to his journey, the leap from where he starts to where he ends up is astronomical. Look at this number, 5 million.
So, if Tanjiro at the final selection exam is a base level of 100, surviving through the entertainment district and awakening his mark bumps him to an estimated 14,000. By the time he enters the Infinity Castle, absorbing all that combat experience, he scales up to roughly 5 million. So the crucial point is, this massive leap wasn't handed to him by a magical artifact. It was paid for entirely in blood, grit, and broken bones.
And tracing his timeline proves that this growth was steady, earned, and incredibly grueling. From day one meeting Gyu, to spending over 6 agonizing months just trying to slice a boulder, to taking over a year to awaken his mark, to finally hitting year 2 with the Infinity Castle. I mean, think about spending 6 agonizing months just trying to slice a single rock. That is a painstakingly earned climb.
To bring it all together, as analysts have noted, Tanjiro always feels like he is evolving as a direct consequence of the pain and the punishment he has gone through. Unlike so many protagonists who are just suddenly gifted overwhelming power, Tanjiro's strength is completely believable because the series always makes sure to show you the horrific price he pays for it.
Which leaves us with this final thought for today. When you look at the entire journey of Tanjiro Kamado, it really begs a fascinating question. Is true strength defined by the powers you're born with, or the amount of pain you are willing to endure for others? Think about that as you reflect on this incredible story. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.